What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, live for your NFL Week 9 betting preview. We are going to go over the spread picks, over-unders, parlays, of course, our Underdog Fantasy Pick'em Parlay, and teasers, as well as any questions that you guys have. That's why I went live this week, so let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them at the end of the video for you here live. But let's quickly go over and recap my bets, or my favorite bets and my favorite plays for this week. If you are specifically looking for more betting information from me, yours truly, the place to go is Patreon. The place to go is Patreon. Patreon.com/BLV. Check it out. Link in the description, guys. That's where I give out all my bets each and every week. I also give out my bets for primetime games. I give out my bets early in the week. If I like something really early, I let you know. There are a couple plays this week that I did play early, and I'll let you know those plays. So you get specific value early in the week that you would not get anywhere else. All right? So make sure to check out the Patreon. Let's get rolling with my Week 9 betting preview. So let's begin with the spread picks. Spread picks for the week are the Atlanta Falcons +3. This is a play that I really liked. I bet earlier in the week at +3.5. So I did get the hook, which I feel even more confident about in what I expect to be a high-scoring but very close game. I could see either team winning the game. I really like how Atlanta matches up with the Chargers in terms of their ability to possess the football, their ability to run the football on the Chargers, and their ability to create explosive plays off of that running game. If the Chargers try to get too into stacking the box and trying to defend those running backs and Marcus Mariota, there's going to be big play action plays that Arthur Smith can dial up to attack that secondary. On the other hand, I don't love the Chargers offensively this year as much as years past, and I definitely feel they're not the same team without their two top alpha targets, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. It's going to ask a lot more of Justin Herbert to attack this defense, even a weaker defense in Atlanta. It's also on the road as well, early in the slate. So it's a West Coast team going to the East Coast, an East Coast time zone, and you're asking that team to also score a ton of points and get up and early, because if they're not ready right at the jump of the game, Atlanta's going to be able to run the ball all day long if they get up in this football game. So that's my first bet. My favorite bet or play this week on the spread is probably the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks to beat the Cardinals outright. I know the game's on the road. Doesn't really matter to me, as the Cardinals are actually worse at home than they are on the road. Arizona right now has a lot of issues with their offensive line, and I really like how the Seattle Seahawks are playing up front, the way they're stopping the run, the way they're challenging quarterbacks with their pass rush, and the way Pete Carroll's coaching. They've got the better coach. They've got the more consistent quarterback right now. They've got plenty of weapons. They can run the football. They can be balanced on offense. And the Seahawks have beaten the Cardinals at least 2 straight times dating back to last year, when the Seahawks were not a playoff team and the Cardinals were. Earlier this year, we saw the Seahawks win by double digits, and they could have scored even more points in that game, and the Cardinals struggled to score. So I view this game as Seahawks, a sweep. I understand divisional game. Maybe you think it's going to split. I think it's going to be a sweep. I think the Seahawks are the better football team, and I think Seattle is just underrated right now. So I'm taking the points with them +2. My third pick is the Bears +5. I like the Bears. You could still get them about 4.5, and I still think that's about the same. You know, Seattle's still about +2, so you can still grab them. Or if you want to put them in a teaser, that's another idea. Atlanta at +3 is still a nice bet. So the top 3 have not really been affected so far this week. So if you still want to bet on them, that's your prerogative, so to speak. But the Chicago Bears +5, +4.5. I like the play regardless. I just like Miami, with the hype they're getting, to go into a underrated home field in Chicago and be tested by a team that has recently been rolling on offense. I really like how Chicago is calling it on offense. I like how Justin Fields is protecting the football, not turning the football over, and how he's creating plays with his legs and his arm. You also add Chase Claypool to that offense, and I'm intrigued to see a team that loves to play man coverage in Miami try to defend both the running game of the Bears that's such a threat, especially with Fields' legs, and then also those receivers with speed vertically down the field. I think they're going to challenge Miami's defense that's been kind of overrated. Miami's offense has also been a little overrated. Despite the production from the receivers, they have not scored a ton of points this year. Last week, they scored, but they played the Lions defense, which is probably the worst defense in the NFL, and they trailed in that game for large portions of the game, and they kind of sputtered at times. Chicago does have a better defense, especially in the secondary, and I think they do a good job playing very sound and sometimes challenging quarterbacks with safety rotation and things of that nature. I think Chicago can surprise some people with their defense at home. And then my fourth play is Washington plus 3.5. This has moved to 3. If you could still get a 3, I do like it, or even maybe a little sprinkle on the money line. We'll get to that a little bit later. But Washington plus the points is still the play for me. The Vikings, yes, are 6-1, but I don't think they're quite as good as their record suggests. I think Washington is a little bit underrated right now because I don't think enough people, and especially the market, has switched and swapped, their expectations when you switch the quarterbacks. It's clear that Taylor Heineke has been a much better quarterback for this team, and they've played better, and they've won games. They've won 3 straight, and Washington's attacking down the field offensively with Terry McLaurin. He's playing very well, and the Vikings are not very good in the secondary. I also think this is a challenging matchup for Minnesota's offense because you got a solid interior pass rush, you got a solid interior run defense, and Kirk Cousins can be uncomfortable from those things. And this is also the home team getting points. So Washington, also the Vikings are looking ahead to a game against the Bills next week. So there's a lot of factors here, but I like Washington in that spot. Tampa Bay minus 2.5. There is a warning. I probably would not bet this at minus 3. But if you want to take the Bucs on the money line or throw them into a parlay, I feel pretty comfortably with them winning. But I could see a lot of different avenues how this game lands on 3. I could see this game ending 20-17, 17-14, 24-21. I could see it happening very much like that. But minus 2.5 would be the play. I like Tampa's defense getting healthier. I think they have a clear advantage over this Rams offense that's struggling to move the ball. They can't run the ball, so there's going to be no balance within their offense. And I don't think that they're going to be able to threaten the Bucs secondary with very limited receiving core minus Cooper Kupp, who's also injured entering this game. On the other side, the Rams have not rushed the passer well. They're 31st in pressure rate this season, despite having Aaron Donald. And Brady, most of what's happened to him this year has been a lack of protection, not being able to throw those balls down the field because of a lack of protection. If he's comfortable, he's going to be successful. He also has all 3 of his starting receivers, including Julio Jones, and a bit of a tweak on the O-line last week that helped them produce. So I think the Bucs, 10 days of rest, they get it done. Titans plus 12.5. That's a game that I just trust Mike Vrabel. Too many points. If it's plus 13, this actually moved in our favor. I love it because Mike Vrabel is not going to lose by 13 points. I don't care who his quarterback is. I really don't. He's just a great coach overall. And Derrick Henry's going to run the football on a pretty weak and susceptible Chiefs run defense. They're going to keep Mahomes on the sidelines. Tennessee's defense has constantly given Mahomes and Reed fits over the years. And Tennessee actually has the greatest win percentage against Mahomes of any team in his career. So Tennessee is a team that consistently plays them very, very well and plays them tight. And if they have Tannehill in this game, they could even win the game. I wouldn't be that surprised by that, to be honest with you. So I just think 12.5, 13 is just ludicrous for this particular matchup. Then we move to the over-unders. Guys, let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Let's move to the over-under. So the over-under plays are only exclusive to this video, guys. So that's why you tune in. Make sure to Gronk spike that like button and subscribe for more. The Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets under 46. This is actually a play that I gave out to my patrons. Okay, under 47.5 on Monday. So you missed out on a 1.5 of value. If you are not a patron, that could be considerable in this game. Let's say the game ends 30-17. you would lose this bet, but I still like it to give it to you guys here on the channel at under 46 because I just don't know how many points the Jets are going to score. I just don't know how many points the Jets are going to score. I do lean towards the Jets getting points in a divisional matchup at home, but I just don't know how many points they're going to score with a lack of a really effective running back. The offensive line beat up. Zach Wilson playing like the worst, most inconsistent quarterback in the league. Banged up at wide receiver. Very good defense in Buffalo. And I also love the Jets defense. This is why I'm comfortable giving you the 46, even though we've lost 1.5 points of value here, is because I love the Jets defense, and I think they're going to play a really solid game and make this one competitive against the Bills. I love how they can rush the passer with 4. I love how fast they are, which I think is very, very, just a big deal when you play the Bills. Because I think with all those quick passes, you got to be able to tackle and you got to be able to close space fast when you play Josh Allen and his rocket arm when he throws the ball down the seam. And the Jets are very good in the middle of the field at closing those passing lanes. So I like the Jets defense. I like the Bills defense. I think this is an under in a divisional matchup. Then we have the Los Angeles Chargers, Atlanta Falcons over the 49.5. I kind of mentioned this already. I think the Chargers, with Herbert, you expect them to score. I think Austin Eckler has a big day in terms of receiving. They're going to dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk, but they're going to lead to points. And then Atlanta, they're going to be able to run all over the Chargers very efficiently. And I think both teams share back and forth scoring. Then we have the third game, which is the Miami Dolphins, Chicago Bears. I've got the over here. Like I said, I like the way the Bears are calling their offense. I like the way they're scripting their offense. I like their identity right now on offense. I don't think the market has quite caught up to that yet. And Miami, as a whole, I think Tyreek Hill is just ridiculous. Jalen Waddle is just ridiculous. I do think that you can run on the Bears better than most teams, so Miami should find success with Raheem Mostert and possibly Jeff Wilson here. And I'm just not going to be surprised for the third week in a row where Chicago goes over in a game, because they've been doing it the last 2 weeks, and they've been very effective on offense. The fourth game is the Seattle Seahawks and Arizona Cardinals. I'm going under 49.5. These two teams combined for 28 points last game. And I understand it's a new game. It's all that. It's a different location and stuff. But it makes me hard to believe that they're going to score like 20 more points in this game than they did in the first matchup. And it's the second matchup where typically defenses tighten and they understand what an offense is trying to attack them with. I understand D-Hop's in there and all that stuff, and that does influence the Cardinals' offense a little bit. So that's maybe why the line moved up from probably the last matchup. But Seattle's defense is playing better, and Arizona has a formula against Geno Smith that does tend to work, which they sacked him 5 times in the first matchup. So I think the under 49.5 is a solid play, just looking at what happened in the last matchup. And my fifth and final over-under play for this week is the Kansas City Chiefs, Tennessee Titans under 45. Going back to my point of, well, if Tennessee doesn't have Tannehill, they're going to struggle to pass the ball. And I don't care how good Derrick Henry is, they're going to struggle to score. So one side of the field is probably going to score. Now, if Tannehill plays, he's beat up. And how much are they really going to make him drop back and pass, especially early in the game? The Titans are going to want to milk the clock. They're going to want to chew the clock, which makes the game a lot shorter, right? Kansas City is a team that just generally struggles playing the Titans and Mike Vrabel. So I don't expect them to score a 40-burger in this game and cover this by themselves. I'd be impressed by them if they were able to get to 30, but I think it would have to do with some defense from their side. I could easily see this game going 2 ways. The Chiefs win and they pull away late because the Titans don't have enough at quarterback, or the game is just generally close and kind of lower scoring than you would have thought, like 24-20, something to that degree, 21-17, something to that degree. Last year, the game was like 27-3 for the Titans, so it was a clear under there. So those are my over-under picks for week number 9. Next up, we have the Underdog Fantasy Pick'em Parlay. Sign up now to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code BLV on your first deposit, and they will match you up to $100, guys. This is one that I went hot on. I'm real high on these parlays this week, man. like you can see, 5 picks for $1,000. We hit one 2 weeks ago, and I'm feeling this one. I really like this one. I'm all in this week. So I highly recommend to go over to Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code BLV, sign up, and get that deposit match up to $100. But I use some correlation in my pick'em parlay this week. So we have Aaron Jones going over the rushing yards, which would correlate with Aaron Rodgers going under his passing yards prop. Actually, what I found was, Aaron Jones doubled that last week against Buffalo, a much better run defense than Detroit. My thought here with Green Bay is that they found a formula versus the Bills, and that is run the ball. And I think the Packers are going to come out, they're going to run the rock, specifically with Aaron Jones. Secondly, Aaron Rodgers, he has not gone over 262 passing yards all season. So why should I feel like he should do it this week? I guess he is playing the worst defense that he's played all year. Fair enough. But I do think they run the ball in this game. Next, we've got Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith. Correlation. So I got higher 73.5 rushing yards for Kenneth Walker. And I've got lower 251.5 passing for Geno. Geno has not passed for as many yards recently in the last 3 weeks as he did early in the year. He did not hit 200 yards against Arizona in the first game. Kenneth Walker hit 90 in the first game rushing yards against Arizona. So both of those props would have hit in the first matchup. I'm expecting the same in the second, as Seattle has become a run-heavy team in recent weeks. And the final pick, which is my favorite pick, is Josh Allen having more passing attempts than Zach Wilson by at least 3. So I mean, that to me is near a lock. I try not to say that word, but the Jets saw what happened when they passed the ball with Zach Wilson last week, and it was not pretty. They're going to want to run the ball this week after the disaster that was the Patriots game. And Josh Allen just throws the ball a ton, like 40 times a game. So I'm not expecting anything different there from Zach Wilson and Josh Allen. Next, we've got our parlays. We've got the Underdog parlay. So I actually really like this one. I haven't included it in recent weeks, but I do like all of these teams. I picked them all to actually win the game outright. So I've got the Commanders, the Falcons, and the Seahawks to win. I'm not sure if I picked the Commanders, but I do really like their chances at home this week against the Vikings. But I like the Falcons. I love the Seahawks this week. I'd play them all individually on the money line to win, and then I'd combine it a little bit less money on this parlay, as it's 11 times your money. So if you were to bet $10, you would win 110. I think that's the right math there. Next up, we've got the Mitch Moneymaker parlay, which is a money line parlay this week. I got the Packers to beat the Lions, the Patriots to win the game outright over the Colts at home, the Bengals to beat the Panthers at home, and the Bills to beat the Jets. It's only 3 times your money, but I think that's a solid combo right there on the money line. Try to go a little bit, try to, with your parlays, my recommendation would be, if you're going to play parlays heavy, I would recommend playing a couple more conservative parlays, a couple more aggressive parlays, and try to balance it like that, because you don't want to, because a lot of people that comment on my stuff are like, oh, I got this underdog parlay and this underdog parlay, and I'm like, how often does that actually hit? Don't try to lose all your money. Try to play some single bets. Try to go with those best bets. Single, and then try to play some parlays just a little bit less. But that's my advice. Thank you guys for watching the video. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button, and if you do have any betting questions, leave them in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Peace.